The world often focuses on billionaires, the likes of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Bernard Arnault. But what if there were families whose wealth extends beyond billions into the realm of trillions? These trillionaire families operate behind closed doors, maintaining a level of secrecy that shields them from public scrutiny. Unlike publicly known tycoons who thrive on media attention, these families prefer to keep their influence hidden, quietly shaping economies, industries, and even governments. Their wealth is not measured in mere cash or liquid assets, but in vast landholdings, banking empires, and generational control over industries that power the global economy. One of the key reasons these families remain out of public discussion is that their wealth is not tied to stock market fluctuations or Forbes rankings. Instead, their power is rooted in centuries old banking institutions, real estate monopolies, and ownership of critical global resources. Some of these families have controlled financial systems for generations, establishing dynastic wealth that transcends any single individual. They do not flaunt their riches on social media or appear on the cover of business magazines because their true influence is not about personal net worth. It is about control over industries that dictate the flow of money worldwide. At the core of these trillionaire families are banking dynasties that have historically financed wars, governments, and major industrial revolutions. Their power is not in producing goods, but in controlling capital itself. Their influence is so deeply embedded in global economies that their wealth cannot be measured in traditional terms. They own private banking networks that influence monetary policies and international trade without ever making headlines. Unlike tech billionaires who depend on market trends and innovation cycles, these families have generational wealth that does not diminish with financial crashes or technological shifts. Land ownership is another critical factor in their hidden power. Some of these families own vast amounts of land, entire regions, agricultural empires, and strategic real estate holdings that generate passive income for centuries. While stock markets can crash and industries can rise and fall, land remains a tangible, appreciating asset. The value of their holdings is not simply in real estate, but in the control it gives them over food production, natural resources, and energy supply. These families do not just own land, they own the infrastructure that sustains civilizations, making them indispensable to global economies. Energy and resources are another domain where these families exert quiet dominance. The world runs on oil, gas, and minerals, and the wealthiest, most elusive families hold key stakes in these sectors. They do not operate under household brand names like ExxonMobil or Shell, but they own the conglomerates that supply energy to nations. Their companies do not trade on stock exchanges because they have no need for public investment. Their wealth is so vast that they do not require outside capital, and by remaining private, they avoid scrutiny from regulators and journalists. Another reason these families are rarely discussed is their influence over global policymaking. Many of them have deep ties to world governments, central banks, and global institutions. They do not lobby for policies in the way that corporations do. Rather, they shape entire economic systems. Their wealth allows them to fund political movements, influence elections, and direct the course of national economies. Unlike corporate CEOs who answer to shareholders, these families answer only to their own long-term strategies, ensuring that their interests remain intact for generations. Their secrecy is not accidental. It is a carefully maintained strategy. Unlike self-made billionaires who often chase media attention, these families avoid public exposure at all costs. They operate through trusts, offshore accounts, and shadow investments, ensuring that their names do not appear in financial disclosures. Their assets are distributed across continents, making it nearly impossible to trace the true extent of their holdings. This deliberate invisibility is what sets them apart from ordinary billionaires. Their influence is so deeply entrenched in global systems that they do not need to be visible to exert control. Despite their hidden nature, traces of their power can be found in history. They have funded empires, controlled banking institutions, and shaped financial crises from behind the scenes. Their wealth is not measured in Forbes lists, but in their ability to dictate the course of economies without ever being named. While billionaires may rise and fall in the public eye, these trillionaire families remain in the shadows, ensuring that their legacies last far beyond any individual lifetime. The idea of trillionaire families may sound like a conspiracy to some, but the reality is that the most powerful individuals in the world are not those whose names we hear every day. They are the ones we never hear about, the quiet architects of global finance, trade, and governance. Their control is not in the numbers reported on financial statements, but in their enduring influence over the world's wealth, resources, and policies. They do not seek recognition because power, in its purest form, is best wielded without attention.